Hello, everyone. It's John Pollock alongside Jimmy Korderas. WWE Fastlane is coming up this Sunday night from Cleveland, Ohio. We've got a WWE versus UFC head-to-head battle, Jimmy. It's going to be a very hectic night for yours truly. Yes. But we are here to discuss Fastlane, as much as I know all of our viewers at home, they do want to hear a Donald Cerrone, Alex Oliveira breakdown. But we are going to be discussing, first off, the main event. Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, and Brock Lesnar. What have you thought about the build-up for this? And in particular, let's start off with Brock Lesnar, because this big angle was shot ahead of the Royal Rumble, marrying him to the Wyatt family and leading to the elimination at the Rumble. And since then, nothing.
Right.
I would go so far as to say it is very possible that that program has changed for WrestleMania, because there have been basically no hints towards it. And honestly, it feels like Brock Lesnar, there are better options for him at WrestleMania.
Yeah, that may be right, but at the same time, because this era of everybody saying, oh, it's so predictable, after the Royal Rumble, that was their intention. Once this match was announced, they said, well, here's what's going to happen. The Wyatt family is going to interfere in the match and cost Brock the match, allowing Roman Reigns to win and go forward. And
this is going to be a surprise, because I don't think they will get involved.
Exactly. Now, this is keeping the Wyatts away from Brock. It's almost like that out of sight, out of mind mentality. Yep. Maybe it'll lull people into a false sense of security that maybe the Wyatts won't get involved. I still kind of feel that they might, but at least now it doesn't appear that way, judging by where they're going, the way it's been built so far.
Can we assume that Brock is not taking a pinfall in this? Or because that feels like the reason Dean Ambrose is there, and also the guy that can also use that loss for a further story, whether it's going into WrestleMania, whether it's post-WrestleMania, for an eventual turn and working with Roman Reigns. There seem a lot of options going that way, and I don't think they just want to just trivially beat Roman Reigns or Brock Lesnar.
No, I don't think the best course of action is to pin either Brock or Roman Reigns in this match. I mean, I know a lot of people would love to see Dean Ambrose come out of this match and go on to WrestleMania in the main event. I think that's a little bit too soon, but in my opinion, Dean Ambrose would be the right choice. If you're going to turn somebody, if you're going to turn either Roman Reigns or Dean Ambrose, to me, Dean Ambrose is the guy to turn, because I guess maybe that's the old school way of thinking is your best heels are the guys who are more over as baby faces. That's why when they turn, it seems to work, because these guys were well liked. Of the two, Roman Reigns does get that split reaction because, the more diehard crowd not on board with him, but, casual fans like the guy. And if you go to house shows or live events where it's predominantly casual fans, you'll see that he does get cheered a lot.
What kind of audience do you expect in Cleveland?
I think it's going to be more mixed. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's going to be quite like a Philly crowd or a New York crowd or anything like that.
This isn't the Royal Rumble. This is not one where people are booking trips from around the world or even around the country to go attend.
Exactly.
This is much more a local event audience-wise.
So I think there is a possibility that Roman Reigns will get more cheers than boos at this particular pay-per-view. But, going forward, like I was saying, I think Dean Ambrose is the choice for the guy. If you're going to turn somebody...
I wouldn't do it this early, though. I would simply be planting the seeds, which I think they have effectively done with Dean Ambrose, so that I like when turns happen and you can look at past discretions and different things like a loss, like a pinfall, the guy not being there, and the turn makes sense. You say, yeah, all this adds up. There is that motivation for the turn, and it happened. Mm-hmm. He finally acted on all of these past actions, rather than something totally out of left field where we have, I'll throw out an example like the Hardy Boys, for instance, and not their current feud in TNA, but going back to when they tried it in WWE. It was very hard for any fan to buy that a brother would go out of his way to turn on his own brother, and it was just a disconnect for people. It's like, I can't buy this as this motivation, and Matt Hardy taking ownership of Jeff Hardy's house burning down, a actual house that did burn down. Right. Just things like that I think people get lost in, but it's the shocking turn. Mm-hmm. I think with Dean Ambrose, you could have a great post-WrestleMania program for Roman Reigns, and all of this is kind of just like investing, and then you can do the big withdrawal from your account after WrestleMania and cash in, Jimmy. That's my banking metaphor for this turn.
I like it. I do like it, and I like that you mentioned that Roman Reigns going forward and facing Triple H at WrestleMania, coming out of this match as the number one contender. It makes sense to me.
It's the story.
It's the story, and we haven't got that payoff yet. How long has this story been playing out with the Authority constantly screwing Roman Reigns? And the end of a story is usually getting your payoff. And that's the payoff, is Roman Reigns finally overcoming the odds and doing it. So, yes, is it predictable? Yeah. Spoiler alert, the ship sinks at the end of Titanic, so don't go see it.
I actually did once when that movie came out. A girl in my class did complain about ruining the ending of Titanic for them.
I know this is out of left field, but this was a long time ago when the movie Apollo 13 came out, and sitting in the theater with this young lady who I was trying to impress, and she asked me like halfway through the movie, is this a real story? And I just sat there, ate my popcorn the rest of the way. And,
it's Apollo Creed's 13th child.
Yes, exactly.
As we get back on the fast lane after that detour off the shoulder of the road to Apollo 13 territory, let's look at this. Out of sight, out of mind, you bring up. Have you been at all surprised at the lack of appearances by the WWE champion since the Royal Rumble? I think you could add up his appearances on programming and they would be under 5 minutes in total that he has appeared on television. Hunter has removed himself from television pretty much, other than just popping in for a backstage segment here or there, showing up on the ramp. And that's been about it, because this show has very little to do with him and more so the title shot, and then the Mania build really kicks off the next night in Detroit.
It's almost like a 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. You'd like your champion to be more visible on the program, but at the same time, it's giving more focus to, like you said, the number one contendership and that position. So I don't have a problem with it so much as you look back when Brock was champion. How often did he appear? It was very rare.
Yeah.
So I don't see much of a difference here. And if it's in kind of like with the arrogance of Triple H, where look, I'm the boss, I'm the champ, I can defend it whenever I want. So
let's move on down the card. We've got a new Intercontinental champion in Kevin Owens, who won the title back in the Fatal 5-Way last Monday night, which we can state at the time of this recording, the other four, they are well. They are okay?
Yeah.
There was no fatality.
No fatalities.
No, thank God. They do have a good track record of wrestler safety in these fatal 4-ways and 5-ways. But Kevin Owens regains the Intercontinental title, taking on Dolph Ziggler. This plays off Ziggler's wins on television, steering you in the direction that they probably knew they were going this way. And in the weird world that we're in, Jimmy, I think that that's a benefit for Dean Ambrose, that this title is off of him, and it signals to me that they have a focus for him in a singles capacity above the Intercontinental title, because I feel that history dictates that their secondary titles are very much that. There's a certain ceiling that they look at with those titles.
Which is unfortunate, because like we saw with the United States Championship, John Cena was elevating that title with the U.S. Open challenges every week. We thought that opportunity was going to present itself when Kevin Owens first won the Intercontinental Championship. I thought a nice long run by Kevin Owens would help elevate that title as well. Maybe not to the levels it used to be at, but at least, make it somewhat relevant. But I just feel like the secondary titles lately have had this ping pong effect, that hot potato issue. That I don't like about what's happening here. But then again, Kevin Owens with the Intercontinental Championship kind of makes sense. It fits with his character, and maybe this is the right time to try and, I hate using the word reset button because it's not really a reset, but at least try to make it somewhat relevant again. Maybe it's time to go back, and I've said this before 100 times, maybe it's time to go back to the brand extension, the brand split, have guys specifically on separate programs, leave the U.S. title on one show, leave the Intercontinental Championship, and make them the focus, and you can have your world champion ping pong back and forth.
You have not been the first person to throw out the brand extension idea, and you're seeing, to me, and a lot of this is the commentary, but you're also seeing distinctions now between Raw and SmackDown. They used to be pretty much, you could color them with the same brush. What you saw on Raw was effectively what you were getting on SmackDown. Not a whole lot of diversity. You are seeing that now, and I think we certainly allot that to the changeover in announcing. There is a distinct difference, but the show also has a different feel to it. And now is the time that I guess the hesitancy is that you've got this 3-hour beast on Monday nights, and you have a roster that has been riddled with injuries. It's not the deepest roster to begin with when everyone's healthy, and separating them, it seems like there are some challenges. However, you've also got 100 guys in developmental. Only a fraction of them are on NXT television, and that becomes the issue. NXT has their requirements, their touring. They want to keep that roster pretty boastful, but at the same time, the main roster is the priority.
Exactly. And like if you do this brand, I'll give you an example. Like back when I was in the WWE and during the brand extension, there was that friendly competition between both shows. And
did you actually get drafted, Jimmy? Was there actually a drafting of the referees?
It was like just when they decided that the referees were going to be brand specific as well, as they called it, brand specific.
Yeah.
It
even ordered the shirts and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, they ordered new shirts and everything. They just said, you know what? This crew's going to be SmackDown. These guys are going to be Raw. And the only time there was ever a change was we ended up getting Charles Robinson, and I can't remember if there was a trade there or if it was drafted. We ended up getting Charles, and
a Tony Chimmel to be named later, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was Kyoto who went the other way. I think it was Mike Kyoto who went the other way. So
Mike Kyoto.
SmackDown benefited in that one, let me tell you. But anyways, yeah, I kind of liked it because we had this friendly rivalry going on, and we always viewed Raw as the entertainment program, the flagship entertainment program, and we kind of considered ourselves the more wrestling-oriented program.
Yeah, the meat and potatoes wrestling show, which SmackDown certainly had that distinction for a while, especially when the brand split begun.
Yeah, and I think maybe there is a little bit of a concerted effort, like you said, that it's starting to kind of ease that way now. And you brought up, the announcing change with Mario, as JBL likes to call him. It's more Ronaldo, but JBL calls him Mario, which is kind of funny. But it's a beginning there, and I think, you can't do it overnight. You can't just all of a sudden wipe the slate clean and start over. It's got to be a slow progress, and I think it's gone that way, and it's helping the product, I think.
If there's one thing that I've seen that the WWE product has done, whether this is for good or bad, there's been the emphasis for, I would say, a decade. I mean, John Cena, yes, the kind of the top guy, but WWE business, it's largely been so much on the brand, and I especially see that with television, that I think they have the ability to be much more experimental when it comes to certain talent being relied upon, that this is a diehard audience. This past Monday, Jimmy, we had the Grammy Awards, which did a tremendous number, and a 3-hour Raw that Monday afternoon, you didn't have one reason to tune into Raw other than it's Monday Night Raw. Yeah. That's it. You had no hook. And this thing, it wasn't a phenomenal number, but it was okay.
Yeah.
It was still over 3 million viewers that stuck around for 3 hours on the promise that you'll get Big Show and Braun Strowman at the end of it.
Right.
I mean, this is a product that there is a heavy, loyal audience to, that you throw them anything, they're going to digest it. And history shows new, fresh talent, it typically moves the needle up and not down. And they have that ability with fresh talent from NXT that comes up after WrestleMania. If you really want to go forward with this, I don't think the SmackDown number would get slaughtered. I think there would be a lot of curiosity at how SmackDown is being repackaged if they go that direction.
And there was, even back then, they did surveys, and they I don't know how accurate these numbers were, but they were saying that 70% of the audience that watched Raw on Monday nights during the brand extension did not watch SmackDown on Thursdays or Fridays.
Right.
It was like almost like the majority of the audience was completely separate, almost like they had their own audiences. So
they totally believe that, because that's why you saw that Dudley promo on Monday, which was essentially recapping what they said on SmackDown.
Exactly.
And I mean, yeah, they have their internal knowledge, and if that's what their audience, if that's what the crossover is like, you do see a distinct
kind of
difference.
like polling numbers.
Exactly. You can't always put all your faith in them.
No.
But we are not going to get into Jimmy Korderas politics. That's what his Twitter is for.
No, yeah.
Let's get back to the card. Charlotte is going to be defending the Divas title against Brie Bella, who definitely is winding down her career by her own admission and probably wrapping up by the summer, if not earlier. This particular match, I think that, Brie, I think, is just the sentimental favorite because of everything that's gone down with Bryan Danielson. Charlotte, I feel, has worked very well in this heel role with Ric Flair, and I see her retaining the title. I don't see the feel-good title change onto Brie, but do you think differently?
No, I agree with that. And what I like that I'm seeing from Charlotte right now is she's starting to get more comfortable on the main roster. We saw that transition from NXT. When she was in NXT, she was phenomenal. Even on the microphone, she felt comfortable, with her promos and stuff like that. Coming up to the main roster, which is a bit of a different animal because the promos are a little structured a little differently from NXT. The creative liberties aren't quite as available on the main roster. You have to kind of stick to the program.
Oh, and that was evident Monday during that back and forth.
Yeah.
I mean, those were two women who just to me, especially Brie, it's just these are women that are just so worried about screwing up anything.
Right.
It's a very distinct difference from when you say a Kevin Owens is given a microphone, right. and that's the comparison that you're naturally going to make.
Exactly. But that being said, Charlotte is starting to at least find a better rhythm with her promos, which is helping her character, and having Ric Flair there, wooing
the mute. As I would call him nowadays on Raw. Yeah. The man isn't even allowed to woo.
Well, they're kind of like off in the distance now. They kind of turn down the side mics there so they can't pick up the wooing. But the jacket still comes off and gets flailed around a lot. I'm just waiting for the elbow to drop, that's all.
Jerry Lawler was on Mauro Ranallo's podcast a few weeks ago, and he was talking about just being in amazement backstage that here is Ric Flair, one of the great promo men, walking around backstage, remembering his script lines. And all I could think of, yes, that's crazy that Ric Flair is here, one of the great promos of all time. What's he memorizing?
Right.
Like, I swear I don't think he could even fill 3 lines of a script to possibly have to remember all that. Like, right. Smile, nod at Renee, and, tap the shoulders when you're out there. I think he's got the routine down. Yeah. What's he memorizing?
I have no idea. But you know what? I'd be curious to find out because, you talk about guys cutting promos and sticking to the script. I'd be curious to find out whether Paul Heyman is actually sticking to what he's been giving, or does he have that creative freedom to go?
I think a lot of the key guys are giving those freedoms, and I would go so far as to say I think that a talent that is up and coming that were to veer off and not screw up, I think they would be applauded for that and wouldn't have to necessarily be as fearful of going off script as it would be here's someone that got the message across and took a chance, and it worked. Yeah. If you fall on your face, that will absolutely be held against you.
Of course. But then that being said, if Paul Heyman is sticking to the script, then he's phenomenal at making it his own. That's for sure.
We've got the Titans of the WWE, Jimmy. The Titans. What a nod to our the former parent company of this World Wrestling Federation / Entertainment. Kane teaming up with the Big Show and Ryback to take on the Wyatt family minus Bray Wyatt, who will be in the corner of Harper, Rowan, and Braun Strowman. Is this going to be just an annihilation by the Wyatt family?
I think it has to be a showcase for someone like Braun Strowman. If that's the guy that they want to make a big deal out of the Wyatt family, and that's what it appears to be, then he has to be very impressive. And guys, I get it. People are kind of like, oh my God, here we go, Big Show and Kane again. But these are guys that they're veterans that their purpose now is to elevate other talent.
Yep.
And that's what's going to happen, I believe, on Sunday. Is Braun Strowman's going to come out looking like a big monster, and he's going to get the rub from this.
And where do you see the Wyatts landing at WrestleMania? If Bray and Brock happens or doesn't happen, we'll find out. But the others, in particular, are these guys all designated for the Battle Royal? Do you see anything more with them on that card?
You could. I kind of maybe see because the tag team situation, every WrestleMania, it almost seems like it's a multi-team thing. So maybe you could throw like Luke Harper and Erick Rowan into the tag team mix. But I probably see them all in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal.
The third match involving AJ Styles and Chris Jericho also happening at Fastlane. I've really enjoyed this build-up. I think Chris Jericho has been the perfect guy to match with AJ Styles since he's come onto the roster, and I pointed this out with Way earlier this week. Chris Jericho is in the adversarial role to AJ Styles. He's also playing his de facto manager, because when he goes on commentary or he cuts the lion's share of the promo, he's putting over AJ Styles. He's bringing up all of his past credentials. He's speaking on behalf of AJ Styles while playing his opponent. And I think it's been a clever way to get AJ Styles across, a guy who isn't a dynamite promo. I also don't think he's awful. No. But this is someone that I think has been, for all the criticism that goes out there about, how can you beat this guy and the handling of AJ Styles, I think this has been a great jumping off point for AJ Styles and the company. He's working with a tremendous talent, and I think they're going to have a very good match on Sunday and probably get more time than any of their television matches have received. Yeah,
and you brought up the best point, is that through this thing, Jericho playing the subtle heel, I guess you would say, throughout this this rivalry, this feud that's going on between the two, good heels, what they do is they pump up the babyface. Because if you tell everybody that this guy is a piece of crap and why do I even bother getting in the ring with him, why should I care? Now you're making the guy look like $1 million, but in the whole process, he's saying AJ Styles is great. He's been, tremendous talent all over the world. He's won championships, pumping him up, but I'm better than him. Like a good heel. So
he has those natural instincts that only veterans are going to have. When you heard on commentary Michael Cole bring up the redneck rookie line, and Jericho just shut him down, stating that was the Miz's line, and it was just this segment is putting the spotlight on AJ Styles. We are building him up. Right. Your line about the redneck rookie serves that purpose in no way.
No.
So let's move on. And he shut down Cole.
Right.
And those are the instincts that only a select amount of people are going to have when it comes to developing a star, and not pointing out catchy little insults that we've just got to ram down people's throat. So nonetheless, I think AJ wins this match. I think that this can spin off Chris Jericho to, whether it be another program, whether it's the idea that they continue on with this. I don't think that's the worst idea in the world, unless they have a big idea for AJ Styles at WrestleMania. But this has been a fun program so far.
Yeah, and they did plant the seed at the Royal Rumble with having Kevin Owens eliminating AJ Styles in his WWE debut. So that seed has been planted, and maybe that's where that road leads at WrestleMania.
What is Chris Jericho going to be doing at WrestleMania? I thought for sure, and it was in the books that it was going to be Dean Ambrose, but you've seen nothing in that direction at all. I mean, Ambrose did eliminate him at the Rumble, but that was never brought up. He's segued off to Styles. We know how this card for WrestleMania has been moved so many different times that maybe Jericho, much like he wanted to come back for Ryback, got Fandango instead in 2013. Maybe he comes back and finds himself in a different spot at Mania.
I'm almost scared that it's going to end up being somebody from the social outcasts like a Heath Slater, and trying to recreate that Fandango moment and getting them using Chris Jericho to elevate them, which I don't think would work the same way.
We shall find out. What else do we have? We've got the tag match involving Sasha Banks and Becky taking on Tamina and Naomi. I think that I feel that Becky should be part of this title match at WrestleMania. I think the three-way is a natural way to go, and I think that is going to be the direction, as opposed to just a singles match with Charlotte and Sasha. And this is the match to get them through this, because this one just rapidly changed course, because coming out of the Rumble, they were doing angles for this, and then it dropped it cold turkey and went to Charlotte and Brie, almost as if they were going to go with maybe Becky for a rematch, and then they thought, let's hold this off to Mania. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, and it makes perfect sense. I mean, like you said, have the Brie thing, maybe that's the bridge to WrestleMania, and I like the idea of a three-way, as long as they don't have another three-way on the card as well. I hope they don't go that direction.
They go WrestleMania 2000, where we got one singles match, and it was Terry and the Cat. That was our one singles match in 2000.
That is right.
Everything was multiple person.
No, please. No.
Fitting everyone onto the card.
And don't forget, we're going to have the tag team champions on the... What is it?
The Cutting Edge Peep Show. Yes, we got an interview segment that gets onto the main portion while the U.S. title match is put onto the kickoff.
Well, I have a little theory here. There may be a silver lining to this, in the fact that, Edge and Christian, the last time they had their little interaction with the New Day backstage in Baltimore, we saw the Dudley Boys show up.
Okay.
And John. Maybe we get Edge and Christian introducing a new tag team to the main roster to challenge New Day at the pay-per-view.
Oh, boy.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe an Enzo and Cass or somebody like that.
Wow, someone putting on his fantasy booker cap here.
Trying. I mean, I don't like...
It's on the main show for a reason.
Yeah.
I mean, they other than just pushing the show after Fastlane on the network, I think that it's the opportunity to at least do an angle, because the New Day are not involved with anyone at the moment. And the Dudleys... I mean, I'm surprised the Dudleys and Usos didn't get put onto this show. That seemed to be the direction they were going, but maybe they're holding that off. I don't know.
Yeah. In a non-tables match.
Alberto Del Rio and Kalisto. I think this is fitting, Jimmy, because it's 2 out of 3 falls. You should have to beat the guy multiple times in order to become the U.S. champion, because both men have laid down a number of times in this feud over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And it's on the kickoff show, so at the very least, they'll probably get some time, given the fact they're going 3 falls.
Yeah, I just wish that when they were going to announce the stipulations for this match that it wasn't 2 out of 3 falls. I was looking forward to that. As I mentioned before, that more traditional lucha stipulation of maybe the mask versus the hair. Maybe they're saving that for WrestleMania. I don't know. But,
maybe they'll surprise us, Jimmy. Your favorite booking method, and we'll go 2 straight falls.
Yeah.
Just to mess with you.
They're messing with me, that's for sure.
We'll find out.
We'll find out. But who goes to 2 straight falls? If Kalisto wins 2 straight falls?
Nah, I think it'll go 3. They'll go the traditional way.
Do you go old school and do you go really dusty and have one of the falls be a DQ and then...
Oh, God, and another rematch?
Yes.
Maybe we'll get 4 out of 7 falls on Raw.
Yeah.
Just keep going and going until we get to WrestleMania, and they will be the 2-hour pre-show.
Exactly. 7.
Texas Death Match, 1 hour, and who gets the most falls wins.
Oh, I was going to say Mexican Death Match. But...
You could do. I mean, you're in Texas, but you could. You're right near the border, though.
Mexican Death Match.
A border death match.
There you go.
Yes.
But I don't think. Well, it's WWE, so they won't use the word death.
Oh, that's true. Border fatality match.
Yeah.
They're fine with fatal. Death, that's too much.
The Mortal Kombat match.
That's too extreme. All right, Fastlane is coming up Sunday night, Cleveland, Ohio, at the beautiful Quicken Loans Arena.
That building has changed names so many times. To me, it's still Gund Arena. I don't know.
Which is the building where Edge and Christian had their ladder match with the Hardys.
Exactly.
I wonder if they'll bring that up during their cutting-edge peep show segment with the New Day.
It would only be fitting, wouldn't it?
That's fine. I don't think the Hardys will be that mystery tag team that shows up, though, Jimmy.
Probably not.
Probably not happening. Tune into Fastlane on Sunday night. We will be back next week chatting about the fallout of Fastlane and the beginning of the real build-up to WrestleMania. Also, immediately after Fastlane, you can tune in to Live Audio Wrestling on TSN Radio, 1050 in Toronto, 1410 in Vancouver, or you can listen live at liveaudiowrestling.com with Jason Agnew and Dan Bransky with a full post show, taking your phone calls and chatting with Dave Meltzer from the Wrestling Observer newsletter. He is Jimmy KORDERAS. I'm John Pollock, and enjoy WWE Fastlane.